For this and for the game tonight, we welcome you to the 5th of 6 Orioles Legends Celebration Series events that are being held this season as we recognize the greatest Orioles of all time. And this afternoon, we get to honor the greatest shortstop in the history of the Orioles, Cal Ripken Jr. We would like to take a moment before we begin the ceremonies to acknowledge the passing of Art Modell. We learned about that earlier this morning. Mr. Modell was a National Football League visionary. He was committed to professional football in Baltimore and beyond. And today, on behalf of the Orioles and the Orioles ownership, our sincerest condolences go to the Modell family. Joining us here today to honor Cal, got a great star-studded lineup of special guests. Cal's wife, Kelly, is here. There are several members of Cal's family, including his mom, Vi. Joining me on stage, Orioles ownership will be represented by Louis Angelos. Baltimore City Council President Jack Young is here. The Deputy Mayor for Baltimore City, Calliope Parthemos, is here. The Orioles Executive Vice President of Baseball Operations, Dan Duquette, is here. Orioles manager Buck Showalter and several of the current Orioles. Members of the Orioles Hall of Fame here. Mike Bordick, Rick Dempsey, Scotty McGregor, Boog Powell, Kenny Singleton, and B.J. Surhoff. As well as 4 of the men who have also been honored with their very own sculptures this season. The manager, Earl Weaver. The Orioles' greatest on the mound, Jim Palmer. At the plate from both sides, Eddie Murray. There'll be another to be introduced in a minute. We'd also like to welcome Gary and Judy Siegel, the owners of the New Arts Foundry in Baltimore, where Eddie's sculpture, along with the 5 other sculptures that are being put up here, Kel's today, were cast in bronze. We're grateful to have the services of this local business to play such a key role in this project. Also joining us is Toby Mendez, the local sculptor who created all 6 of the sculptures being unveiled this year. Toby is joined by several members of the family, including his partner, Kathy Siebert. Toby, we want to thank you very much for the work you have done over the past 2 years for this great project and certainly for the outcome. We will be hearing from Cal soon, but first we would like to introduce a man who was Cal's teammate from 1988 through 2001. He is still around the ballpark, serving as a special assistant to Dan Duquette. He owns the Orioles single-season record for most home runs and total bases in a year. Oriole Hall of Famer, number 9, Brady Anderson.
Thank you, Gary, and I appreciate the warm welcome. I'm sure you're all aware of Cal's achievements as an athlete during his 20 years in Baltimore. In breaking Lou Gehrig's record of 2,130 consecutive games, he surpassed a legend and became one himself. I first met Cal in 1988 when I was traded from the Red Sox to the Orioles. And my locker was right next to Cal's, and we quickly developed a great friendship. I've learned a great deal from Cal, who is devoted to his family, the game of baseball, and the city of Baltimore. Early in my career, when I was still a part-time player, I used to watch Cal from the bench and watch him seemingly struggle at the plate for months at a time. And I remember thinking to myself, man, this guy's having a rough year. But at the end of the season, the numbers usually read 23 home runs and 90 RBIs. And I realized that although the 3-for-4 games with 2 homers are the ones that stand out, it's the 1-for-4 days with the sacrifice fly that helps your team win a game that truly make the numbers memorable. And years later, when I was an established full-time player, I remember I hurt my neck, and I was thinking about not playing. And I went into the training room, and the trainer's a personal friend of mine, and I kept asking repeatedly, what should I do? Silently hoping, of course, he would tell me to take a few nights off. And he finally looked at me and said, well, you could play. You don't think Cal ever had a pain in his neck? And I kind of laughed and jumped off the training room table, called him a dick or something, and went out and played. And, like I said, at that point in my career, playing with injuries was nothing new to me. But my point is, Cal was the ultimate barometer in determining which injuries were simply to be ignored. This is one of the many ways that Cal made a significant impact in my career, his teammates' careers, and careers of players throughout the league. Every year, 1 or 2 players will play in 162 games, and even doing that, they somehow share a small part of Cal's incredible accomplishment, sort of like a badge of honor. I was honored to be chosen as a speaker during Cal's 21-31 ceremony, and I'd like to repeat a few words that were spoken that night briefly. I know I realize, of course, I'm committing some sort of public speaking infraction by quoting myself, but it is the anniversary of that terrific night, and I'm hopeful that it's meaningful. In breaking this record, he surpasses the playing streak of Lou Gehrig, an exceptional baseball player so universally loved and admired that sentimentalists might have hoped he'd remain untouched in deference to the man himself. Gehrig's haunting farewell speech at Yankee Stadium, his brilliant career, and his quiet courage leave a legacy of heroic proportion, which will grace the game of baseball forever. I know Cal is honored to be in the company of such a legend, just as we know that each man's accomplishments and contributions enhance rather than diminish the others. For what finer tribute can one player give to another than his uncompromising excellence? Often in sports, the mark of a man is measured after the glory of his playing career is over. Assuming that this is the case, it's safe to say that Cal has exceeded all expectations, not only as a baseball player, but as a human being. Thank you.
Brady, thanks very much. We would now like to introduce a man who knows Cal about as well as you can. Teammate, 7 of his 12 big league seasons, but he's been a brother for a lot longer than that, 47 years. One of the grittiest players ever to put on an Orioles uniform. Please welcome back, number 3, Bill Ripken.
Brady, did you hear what you said in front of my mother? I pretty much got license to say anything I want, don't I, Mom? Yes, sir. You know, we've all attended quite a few things to honor this man right here. And in all my years that I've played victim, I've always called him the chosen one, Mom's favorite. These are all true. The golden boy. And today it's kind of funny, you're getting a bronze statue. All these years, the golden boy, it's bronze over there. Come on, man. So I started to think, if you got a statue and people get to walk around it, what are these people going to think when they come out here and with all the Oriole greats and baseball gates that are going to be out here on this plaza? And when you walk by juniors, what are you going to think about? Are you going to think about, you know, he's the Iron Man? Are you going to think about the MVPs? You think about the Hall of Fame? Think about the World Series win in '83. Are those things, is that what the fans are going to think of? And then I thought about it and I said, I'm going to think a little bit deeper. Here's a guy, in my opinion, when I came up to the big leagues July 11th, 1987, I got to stand in between Cal and Eddie Murray on a baseball field and play my first baseball game. That's pretty cool. I'm hoping that the fans out there in this town and any other town that comes to Camden Yards and walks through this plaza and stands next to these greats, they'll have their own thoughts. But my thoughts with Junior, it's about a guy that cared about what he did on the field, cared about what he did off the field. He cared about how he did it on the field and how he did it off the field.
And he still does.
He still does. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good job, Cal.
In my opinion, it was the ultimate teammate. I go back, and I think there's some similarities to this year's Orioles team, and I'm hoping that the O's take it one step further than we took it in '89 in the Why Not campaign. I go back to the '89 team. Craig Worthington played third, Cal played short, I played some second, Tim Hewlett, Rene Gonzalez, Jim Traber, and Randy Milligan. Not household names by any stretch of the imagination. At that time, we set a record for fewest errors by infield at that time. And it was largely responsible for this guy right here. He taught us how to play the game. He taught us when to do chances, when not to do chances. He talked about the whole movement of four infielders moving as one when they're playing in a game. I learned from Cal the importance of taking every pitch. Every situation was going to be different as the game dictated. We learned from our father an awful lot of things. Everything I learned from Junior was more of that magnification and that reinforcement of what Dad already taught me moving forward. A lot of people are going to walk out here, they're going to look at this statue and they're going to think about the streak. And there were some people, there were some doubters and some haters that along the way actually blamed Junior for any of the Orioles' problems. He was selfish. The streak took on a life of itself. He should take a day off. It would be better for the team. For those people, I don't get you at all. If you were ever in the locker room, if you ever understood why the streak came about, it came about because he gave us the best chance to win every single day. The streak doesn't define Junior. Junior defined what the streak was about. He was willing to come to the yard every single day. He was able to come to the yard every single day and play. And we as teammates appreciated that and understood that even if Junior was 0 for 15, 0 for 16, and Roger Clemens is pitching the next day, boy, wouldn't it have been nice if he'd have said, you know what, I'll take a day off today, because I'd argue his Hall of Fame numbers would be better if he was truly selfish and he would have ducked some of the guys. I played with a lot of people in a lot of different teams that would duck certain people when they weren't feeling good. Junior never did that. He was the ultimate team player. You only get a statue because you're great, not because you're selfish.
Thanks, Cal. Thank you, Cal.
Told you there was one more. Please welcome Brooks Robinson. He wasn't going to miss this.
Thanks, Brooks. Thank you, Brooks.
We'd now like to introduce Mr. Louis Angelos here representing the ownership of the Orioles. Louis.
Thank you, Gary. And thank you to Brady and Bill for being here to share your stories and your memories about our great friend and the great Oriole, Cal Ripken Jr. Once again, it's my privilege to represent the Orioles. And first, let me welcome the thousands of fans who have joined us here at Oriole Park today to honor the greatest shortstop in Orioles history, one of the greatest players in the history of Major League Baseball, a contributor to our great game and our community, Cal Ripken. First, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a special thank you to Cal's family, his wife, Kelly, and Vi, his mom. We're so glad you could be here. Your presence makes it even that much more special. I'd also like to recognize Dan Duquette and Buck. Awesome job, obviously, this year, to say the least. And all the players who joined us today from this year's team, Nick, Mark, and JJ, Adam. If I'm missing anybody, I apologize, but thank you guys for coming out. First, I want to extend a thanks again to our Orioles Hall of Famers. They were mentioned, but it is part of what's so special about today is that they're here with us, along with, they were mentioned, but Mike Bordick, Rick Dempsey, Scott McGregor, Kenny Singleton, B.J. Surhoff, and Boog Powell, the Demper, did I mention the Demper? And thank you guys for being here. It's great to have you, and of course, our legends, Brooks, great, so great to see you. Earl, Eddie, and Jim. Here we are, September 6, 2012, exactly 17 years to the day that Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's consecutive games record. An amazing, almost incomprehensible accomplishment. The streak and the number 2131 in many ways tells us a story of Cal Ripken Jr. and his dedication to the game, his dedication to the only team which he played for 20 seasons. Cal was drafted by the Orioles in 1978, and while many had scouted him as a pitcher, the Orioles preferred his glove and his bat and signed him as a third baseman. And Cal was called up late in the 1981 season, and of course it was Earl Weaver who decided that Cal would start at third base for the Birds on opening day in 1982. And later that season, Earl, in his infinite wisdom and amazing baseball intuition, decided to move Cal to shortstop. And Cal went on to hit 268 with 32 doubles, 28 home runs, and 93 RBIs, winning the American League Rookie of the Year award. It was also in that year that on May 30th, the streak would begin. The following season, Cal batted .318 with 47 doubles, 27 home runs, 102 RBIs, 121 runs scored, winning his first of 2 AL MVP awards and helping the Orioles to a first-place finish and the 1983 World Series championship. And all of us remember the iconic image of Cal fittingly catching the last out of that '83 World Series and that championship. Cal continued to put up numbers the next several years, and in 1991, he produced what some regard as maybe one of the greatest seasons in baseball history, perhaps only second to Babe Ruth's 1923 season in terms of all-around production. Cal batted .323 with 46 doubles, 34 home runs, 114 RBIs, 99 runs scored, and a league-leading 368 total bases. He captured his second AL MVP award that season, and it was the year in which he also won the first of his 2 All-Star Game MVP awards and the first of his 2 consecutive Gold Glove awards. In his 21-year career, Cal made an all-time record 19 All-Star games and holds the record for the most consecutive All-Star appearances with 17. Amazing accomplishments. All of these accomplishments, however, as we know, did not gain the national attention or notoriety that the streak was receiving as the 1995 season approached. And that year, the countdown to 2131 began the moment the schedule was released. And whether you were fortunate enough to be here at the ballpark or were watching at home on television, the game still ranks as the second most watched program in the history of ESPN, by the way. We all have the vivid, almost indelible memory of the numbers counting down to the days leading up to the main event, culminating in the 1 replacing the 0, and 2131 proudly displaying on the warehouse, signifying that Cal's streak surpassed the great Lou Gehrig. Rising to the occasion during the game, of course, we'll never forget Cal launching a home run into left field in the 4th inning, which, given Cal's flair for the dramatic, was called on the radio by none other than President Bill Clinton, and sent the overflow crowd into a frenzy. When the game became official in the 5th inning, the crowd roaring, Cal circled the field, shaking hands with the fans in what remains undoubtedly one of the greatest moments in the history of sports. Throughout the streak and over the course of his remarkable career, Cal would win the Silver Slugger Award 8 times at shortstop, score 1,647 runs, tied for 24th all-time with 1,695 RBIs, 13th all-time with 603 doubles. Clearly one of the best fielders, if not the best, of his generation, and would be one of only 8 players in the history of baseball with more than 3,000 hits and 400 home runs, and is 8th on the all-time game played list with 3,001. Remarkable. Yet while we marvel at the on-field accomplishments and try to comprehend the physical feat of the streak, 2,632 games played consecutively, I think inasmuch as it tells us about Cal's dedication to the game of baseball, it tells us so much more about the importance of baseball to its fans and really to all Americans. For baseball, in so many ways, is a metaphor for life, that every day, or with every game, there is new opportunity to put the problems or difficulties of the day behind and look to the future, to improve, to work together, and to otherwise help those around us. All of the great Orioles that we honor in these celebrations have a special place in Orioles history and a special place in the history of baseball. And Cal's dedication to the game and his unique connection to Lou Gehrig, one of baseball icons, struck down by the disease that bears his name, and a man who, very much like Cal, personified commitment and excellence in the sport, or in sport, and of character, makes us remember what is most meaningful in life and what has made Cal Ripken a hero to so many throughout Baltimore, the state of Maryland, across the country, and even the world. His professionalism and his resilience have made Cal Ripken Jr. a model of consistency and truly a baseball player for the ages. It is my honor to congratulate Cal and his family on this day, and I invite Earl and Jim and Eddie and Brooks to join Cal to unveil this larger-than-life sculpture that will forever stand at Oriole Park at Camden Yards in honor of his accomplishments as one of the greatest Orioles of all time and the greatest shortstop in Orioles history. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a great Oriole welcome to Cal Ripken Jr.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. Very nice. Just for the record, just because you stood up and clapped, I'm not taking a lap around this ballpark again. Those days are over. Thank you. In the beginning, I was not sure of what to expect from these bronze statue ceremonies. Sure, these statues showcase some pretty good Orioles baseball players, but at the same time, a familiar sort of Orioles magic started to appear. The magic of the Oriole way, a deep-rooted connection developed over generations of people who dedicated their lives to baseball in Baltimore. Sure, it's a game, right? Well, not to this group. Baseball was and is about excellence on and off the field. Baseball was and is about teamwork. Baseball was and is about community. Baseball, in the end, was and is about family.
Thank you, Cal.
One big family, the Orioles family. Thank you. Speaking of families, I want to thank the Angelos family for this renewed connection with the rich history of the Orioles. Thank you so much, Mr. Angelos. Thank you so much, Mrs. Angelos, John and Lou, for creating and capturing that spirit of the Oriole way through these wonderful works of art. Thank you very much. I am honored to look out and see myself among the players whose sculptures stand here. Through these statues, we all are reminded what it means to be an Oriole. Local ownership, local pride, and representing Baltimore and the state of Maryland in the best possible way to the rest of the country and the world. And I might add, being an Oriole is also about playing meaningful games in September. Congratulations to Buck Showalter and his Oriole team for a great and exciting season. We are all behind you. Thank you, Brady, for your kind words. Good stuff, especially given you only had 24 hours notice. Thank you to Toby Mendez, the sculptor. You really captured the essence of each person. And thank you to my wonderful family, Kelly, Rachel, and Ryan, for allowing me to pursue a dream. Thanks. To share my career with them and now be a part of their young journey in life, there is no better gift. Thank you to my mom and my brothers and sister, Ellie, Fred, and Billy, who helped shape me into the person I am. Thank you. You know, a special thanks goes out to Wild Bill. No, no, not Wild Bill Hagee, but my brother Bill. He is always there for me. He was a great double play partner on the field and equally a great partner in our business. You know him as a high energy, funny person, but there is no one more committed and sensitive to the needs of others than Bill. You know, my own love for the Orioles was born through my dad. As a kid, I remember Dad putting on his work clothes, his uniform, and the sheer joy that would come over him as a result. Why did that make him so happy? Well, in his address to the minor leaguers on the first day of spring training, he would say, "Welcome to the greatest organization in baseball. If you make it through our system, you will play in the big leagues. It might not be with the Orioles, but you will be a big leaguer." Every day he would walk around saying, "It's great to be young and an Oriole." Cal Sr. was mine and Billy's dad, but he also was a father figure to many others. Eddie, Jim, Brady. Not you, Earl, sorry about that. You were Dad's father figure and a father figure to many others as well. But as we now know, Earl, Eddie was your favorite. And there were other father figures from this organization that I want us to remember. George Bamberger, Jim Fry, Billy Hunter, Joe Altabelli, Jimmy Williams, Hank Peters, Tom Giordano, Dick Bowie, Junior Minor, Lance Nichols, Ray Miller, and Doc Edwards, because I will remember them. These ceremonies at times have been extremely emotional, drawing from the real experiences of success and failure. We celebrate success, and we ultimately find out who we are in failure. These are the life lessons that play out on the baseball field. These are the life lessons learned from men like Earl, Cal Sr., Frank, Eddie, Brooks, Jim, and so many more who wore the Oriole uniform. This is the Oriole way. Thank you.